Yada does it. Finally doing this. I'm finally doing this. Oh my god. So, I will be explaining my greatest creation and my current work uh, in writing, A Tale of Supreme Gods. I did not name it. Before I named it, I just called it the roleplay. But my friend, who is also now the main writer, granted, might end up dethroning him from that later. Don't tell him. He doesn't watch me, so who cares? But yeah, so in this I will be explaining the characters, the lore, the history, which is pretty much the lore. Uh, who cares? And what's going on right now, as well as some little tidbits of information and like some cool facts about them and everything in it. Um, I will not be revealing any names of any of the people who do this role play, and if I do, well then I'll let them scream at me and say it's and yeah, I'm gonna be in hell for a while, so if yeah, they find out. Anyways, to start off, I will start by discussing the characters. Now, the characters, honestly, this is what the what makes the whole role play go around. And we've gotten to a point, unfortunately, we've gotten to a point where we need everyone as part of the role play to be in attendance because we've been doing too many lore drops lately. And we got to slow down a bit right now in the story. So yeah, each character is mandatory, and we're going to be tweaking them pretty soon. So then we're able to get across the fact that hey, this person fills this role. This is the role that they were meant to fill, but we didn't write it that way in the past. So now going to be tweaking those characters a bit, so then they actually fill those roles that we want them to fill. I'm going to talk about my character last because I know the most about him. Of course, you don't want to hear so much about him right off the bat. So let's start with Yami. Yami, aka Yami the Shinigami. Former number number 6 seat, I believe, on the Supreme God Council, and the literally the primordial chaos born from the void. So Yami, he has a very destructive and crazed personality. He is outright chaotic and takes enjoyment in causing chaos and destruction. He's a bit of a sadist. And Yami is, well, in all, like, Yami is, it's very hard to explain. This is my first time doing something like this and actually not putting on a face or an act. I'm actually wholeheartedly talking about this shit. Okay, so Yami, his origins were that he was born from the void as the primordial chaos. So he is a literal embodiment of chaos in nature and in everything. His entire being is chaos. So of course he'd take enjoyment out of destruction and uh, causing chaos in any form. And one of that, and Yami, the way he got his power and the way he is right now, is that he ran into Phaetrian, my character, and Phaetrian was on his road to power and was a megalomaniac at the time. So Yami thought, why not? It would be fun joining this idiot. Why not? And so, because of that, Phaetrian ended up corrupting Yami because Phaetrian was so uh, infatuated with his own megalomaniacy and thinking that nobody is better than him. He was really egotistical at the time. So Yami, that rubbed off on Yami, who might as well have been a child, because Yami, he all he knows is chaos. So teaching him anything else other than chaos is like teaching a child how to do something. They're going to learn, and fast, and they will take it to heart, and it will take quite a lot to get that out of their head. So Phaetrian said, as long as it's for power, Phaetrian taught Yami that as long as it's for power, it's okay to kill. And that power is the only thing that matters. Now, at this time, Phaetrian was on his way to becoming a beyond god, which is a step up from a normal god. While gods, in the lore, gods, each god, like gods manage planets, not entire universes. Trying to make it a larger scale. And beyond gods manage the universes that gods are inside, that gods reside. And so once Phaetrian became a beyond god and brought Yami with him, Phaetrian was so he surrounded himself with all the things that he thought he ever wanted, and he cast away his humanity. So Phaetrian at this point, he was basically no longer human on a fundamental level. And Yami didn't know what all this was. Yami was brand new to this, and he just followed Phaetrian and eventually gave into his nature and became the chaotic being that he is now. Now, after Yami deciding it's time to throw it all away, Yami noticed Phaetrian's behavior and thought, the power isn't worth it if this idiot is gonna keep doing what he's doing. So Yami decided to reset the universe and completely wipe away all power, all capability, and all everything. And this reset put Phaetrian in a depressive state, and Phaetrian got his humanity back. But Yami was still like a bit lost, and he was satisfied. But Phaetrian lasted him back into gaining power, because that's the only way Phaetrian could figure out how to cope at the time. He wanted power, so Yami followed him yet again. And this time Phaetrian was as corrupt, but he still followed some of his old habits. So Yami, that obviously rubbed off on Yami, and Yami went faster. It got to power faster than Phaetrian, and helped Phaetrian and Coeus, talk about him later, get to that power, and get to the power of a supreme god, which was what they were aiming for. So and because of this, Yami, Phaetrian, and Coeus destroyed the concept of fate so that they could live out a long and non-tragedy filled life where Well, actually, they just didn't want to. They didn't like the fact that everything they did was predetermined. So they destroying all fate. Yeah. Now, when Yami reset, uh, actually, no, I don't think that's where Yami got his curse. So well, yeah, he got his curse later. Yeah. Well, Yami got to power quickly and was being renowned and known as a bringer of death and destruction, and known for causing chaos everywhere he goes. So Yami was all basically he's one of the people you fear the most. He's basically like, and he's childlike in personality, but a sadistic child, like the creepy ones that you don't want to be around, and like to cause sadistic pain to whatever they deem to be their toys. Now, Yami isn't completely like that, but he has that sadistic, childlike sort of personality that is pretty really damn creepy and don't want to be around. But Phaetrian still knew Yami, and he Phaetrian as well as Koius, and neither Koius did it, and they still hung with Yami. Eventually, Yami, Koius, and Phaetrian to the top 23 of the Supreme Gods, and the top 23 is only ones that matter. The only Supreme Gods that matter are in the top 23. Eventually, after that, they got into the top 10. Now, before they got into the top 10, Yami opened up a casino. And yeah, it was a secret way to corrupt universes from within and conquer them with ease. Of course, Yami eventually got bored because this was too much of a slow burn for him, and he likes to do stuff fast. He craves chaos constantly. So he got bored of it eventually. But in opening it, he made several deals with other supreme gods, such as Alistair from Hazbin Hotel, and even Shrek from Shrek. Yeah, the roster is pretty large, and I cannot name all of them from memory, but those are a few examples, as well as Popo from Dragon Ball and Stabo Crabo from the World of Memes, which is not an actual series, but what else am I going to call it? So because of this, Yami went back to his old ways and started conquering and only taking periodic breaks, but still conquering in the old-fashioned way: death, destruction, chaos. Sometimes doing it a bit slower just to mix things up, and he even took on some apprentices. And Fatriad was there during one of those events, and Fatriad and Yabi came across this guy dubbed as Wizard Jimmy, and during one of those recruitment escapades. Now they didn't recruit Wizard Jimmy, but Yami and Wizard Jimmy gave I mean Yami and Fatrian gave Wizard Jimmy the means to become a supreme god and make a ton of drugs. So, because the current supreme god of drugs wasn't satiating Yami enough to hold down since he is the primordial chaos, he has an urge to destroy and cause chaos around everything around him. So of course he'd want to suppress that. So he did drugs. So so Supreme God of Drugs was overthrown, and Wizard Jimmy became the new Supreme God of Drugs, and Yami is a regular. So eventually, Yami was like above Phaetrian. He was I think Yami was number 5, 6, number 6, yeah. And then yeah, Yami was number 6 on the Supreme God Council. Then wait, was it 7? I'm confused. Yeah, it was 6. And then Phaetrian dethroned Phaetrian, Kois, and Yami dethroned Ultra Drip Stinked Slick Gogeta, don't question it, from the Devil Artemis universe, who was the number 4 seat. And that caused Yami, Phaetrian, and Kois to raise up a rank, so Yami became 5th. And then Phaetrian just gave himself basically a power boost and made it so then he was a rank higher than Yami, just in case if Yami actually did anything. Because Yami is an entity to be feared at this point, and Kois and Phaetrian are becoming wary of him. So, yeah, Phaetrian attained the magical power necessary to rise above Yami on the council. And let's see, I think it went like Kois, Yami, and Phaetrian in that order. Like Kois being 7th, Yami being 6th, and Phaetrian being 5th. And yeah. So because of this whole power thing, eventually they led an escapade and to gain new power, of course, in the world of Toho. They took a vacation there to gain new power. So not really vacation, but eh. And Yami kind of, since Phaetrian did explain the whole since Phaetrian wanted to keep everything a surprise and like everything, like, oh yeah, we're gonna go see this, come on, let's go. Phaetrian did tell Yami that they were going to see Yukari Yakumo, I believe her name was, beforehand. So Yami went and trained under her without Phaetrian's or Koius's consent, which kind of screwed them over and got them kicked out of the world and made them leave early. So, using Yukari's power, Yami gained some sort of artifact, something to do with a heart. I can't remember, from the world of Toho, which he needed yokai gap magic to to get, and Yami wanted to reset the entire Omniverse this time, and my God, yeah. So Phaetrian, he's like, you know what? Yeah, it has gotten a little slow. What the hell? Why not? I have to deal with all. Yeah. So Phaetrian was on board with it, but Koius needed a bit more convincing, but he joined in as well. Koius joined in because he wanted to be sure that him and his wife were and his empire were like solid and safe, you know. While Phaetrian just wanted to get to a more peaceful life. So, because of this, the entire Omniverse was reset, and Shaggy and Popo were killed by Phaetrian and Koius, because of course the other supreme gods wouldn't want Yami resetting everything. God no. So this led into the final multiverse, which is the current saga we're on now. Yami was reduced to a ghost, and his original version of himself is sealed away in inside the head of this ghost version. Now, original Yami, as we call him, uh, is the Yami that we know as the one who decided to reset everything and all that. And actually, the reason he reset everything is because Yami, being an actual part of the void, was able to sense stagnation. Creation of new universes were slowing down, and everything was slowing down too much. So Yami decided if the only way to save this omniverse is to reset it. Which kind of was the only way, but he could have done it several thousand years in the future. But yeah, so because of this, Yabi did reset, and since original Yabi was sealed away inside of Ghost Yabi, it was like a child. Ghost Yabi was like a child, naive and pure, and this time without the urges to cause chaos. And he was corrupted again by by not just Fatrid, but Coeus as well. Because Fatrid and Coeus decided, screw it. We'll take out this criminal organization. They're going to be in our ways to gaining new power. Why not take them out? So they basically taught Yabi that it was all right to kill. Again. So Yabi ended up leaving the group for a while. And when Yabi returned, he was different. His eyes that were formerly a ghostly color are now a bit more reddish in color. And he has more of an attitude. He still relishes some of those chaotic moments, and his power has gone through a major increase. And yeah, so Yami, currently in the story, Yami is working with the 50 Immortals, which is a crime group that our characters are trying to take down right now. So far, they've taken down about 10, 11, around that. So yeah. So Yami is basically gaining intel on our characters, acting as if he's friends with them because he resents them now. They taught him it was right to kill, and that he wouldn't grow wise to all the corruptive and terrible things that they've failed to shield him from. So yeah, that's Yami. Also, keep in mind, Yami's only skill is that he is the greatest mage of all of the supreme gods. No one is better at magic than him. No one. At all. And he usually wears wizard-like robes. I have designed armor and a soul weapon for his character. He says that his soul weapon has a second form, which I will be designing in the future. So yeah, his soul weapon is a wondrous bone scythe. And his armor is, I call the Shinigami King armor. Yeah, it's pretty badass. Not gonna lie. I'm the artist who designed it, by the way. But yeah. So that's Yami. Next is Coeus. Coeus, the King of Shades. The almighty Lord of Darkness and the one who takes everything that dare crosses his path. He actually started out as an anomaly when Phaeton was still a supreme god. An anomaly is someone who is cut off all their strings and has complete full control. And like fate basically said bye bye. So fate no longer controls them. So he was able to gain as much power as he wanted. And after Coeus perused through Phaetrion's personal library with Phaetrion's permission, he found out about the wings of the finite wings, which oppose the wings of infinity. So Phaetrion had to take Coeus down, which he did, and afterwards, Phaetrion made Coeus his general, and that gave Coeus military experience. He gave Coeus a wife. Phaetrion just snapped, and bam, a person was spawned into existence. And Coeus's wife is Ava, the demon mistress of corruption. And she's a succubus with red hair, and she is modeled after Albedo from the popular show Overlord. Go check it out. Very good. My favorite anime of all time. So Ava currently resents Phaetrion because when Phaetrion made her, he only made her with a single desire, and other than that, no personality at all. That was and that was the desire to fuck Coeus. She's a succubus. What do you expect? So yeah. So later on, Coeus decided when Yami reset the universe the first time, Coeus decided to join in on and betrayed Phaetrion so that Yami could reset the universe. As long as Ava was okay. And yeah, she was. She was completely safe. But the cost of it was she lost her memories. And Yami was like able to get, and Phaetrion as like the whole like, yo, we cool, man, asked Yami to give him a vial of Ava's memories as like a peace offering to Ava. I mean to Coeus. My friend's calling me on Discord, and I'm gonna ignore them. So yeah, eventually Coeus accepted it once he became a supreme god, and he just like said, and when that happened, Coeus said like, "Yo, you're my wife now," and he just put a crown on her head and a ring on her finger and called it done. And then Phaetrion promised Coeus proper marriage to Ava, which hasn't come yet because he knew the Omniverse was reset before that could happen. So Coeus rose to power with Phaetrion at this, and actually, Coeus tied himself down by becoming a normal god. Phaetrion helped him get out of it, so that Coeus could actually start gaining power and become a supreme god. And he gave Coeus some of his power because he's just that nice of a guy. So yeah, Coeus helped Phaetrion and Yami destroy the concept of fate, and he quickly rose to power once he became a supreme god. His megalomaniacy overtaking him as he properly earned the title of His Majesty and becoming the King of Shades. Also, he gained a soul ability known as Take, which literally allows him to take matter, to take people, and even take energy. There's nothing he can't take except for other soul abilities. That's literally it. And once he takes someone, depending on their strength of will, they could have they could still have remnants of their personality, with the only exception of that being Draconis, who is such a strong dragon that he left scars on Coius. And when Coius finally took him, he retained his full personality, unimpeded. Is now the strongest member of Coius's army. Save for Ava, because she's Ava. What are you gonna do about that? Yeah. So Coius, he was, other than the occasional conquering spree to expand his empire and make his whole make it so that his empire was properly seated and that he was in strength and power, Coius was pretty satisfied with his life. And he was very powerful supreme god, and he was unparalleled in his ability of sword fighting. No one was better at him than sword fighting. And I mean no one. And Coius just like, nah, I'm not gonna mess with that magic shit. And Coius made the condition that as long as certain members of his empire are all right, and that everything would go well, that he would accept the reset and help Yami reset the Omniverse. And now, and also, and now Coius is just a high score with badass sword skills, help being part of the group that they're basically going to take down the 50 Immortals crime syndicate. And also, the Time Goddess, because Coius, when he was a supreme god, he unlocked power, an unholy power. He made a deal with the void itself, and he draws his power from the void. So Coius is, because of that, the Time Goddess was like, dude, you weren't supposed to do that. You're cursed now. So the Time Goddess cursed him with having red eyes, like the most beautiful color of red you could ever imagine. And that's the color of his eyes. And no matter what his expression is, his eyes will always seem like this sharp, piercing, staring into your soul. And like it's going to be, yeah, it's always going to be unsettling, and you can get used to it, but you'd have to be around him for like centuries to get used to it. Phaeton and Yami have, because they've been around him for literally trillions of years. So yeah. And because of this, Coius was ostracized, betrayed, and he eventually had a mental break where he went on a rampage. And he figured that, hey, I should do this more often. This is much easier than getting backstabbed every time. And now he's a literal sociopath. Like, by definition, he's a sociopath. Large groups ostracized him, so he's afraid of large groups. Yeah, he's a literal sociopath, by definition. So Coius rose to power and is a strong, commanding, charismatic king among the supreme gods. And no one can ever hope to overtake his sprawling empire and his wondrous castle with hundreds of maids and taken soldiers. He even took the supreme god Stabo Crabo, which was at his time the number 10 seat. And he also had Sakya Izuyoi become his head maid without taking her, keep in mind. So yeah, that's where he got pretty much all of his maids, other than a couple of Kitsune maids because of Atreides 7. So yeah. That's pretty much it for Coheus. Now for Patreon. Patreon, he's complex. He found out that he could become a god, so he became the god of craziness. Don't question it. And then he found out there's a higher power, so became the beyond god of fate. And in doing so, he thought, humanity's overrated. And he lost all of his humanity, turning him into a tyrant and an absolute piece of shit. And when everything was reset, he became depressed. He looked for all kinds of coping mechanisms, tapping into pretty much everything, all the way from women to drugs, and he eventually came across his final coping mechanism, alcohol. He became an alcoholic, and he can only drinks wine, and he drinks himself silly. God, don't let him come near a glass, otherwise he's going to have the next like 10 all the way already in his stomach. So Phaetron, his rise to power was quick and very, very, yeah, not good. The methods were not good. He became a megalomaniac as a coping mechanism until he had a realization that he's satisfied with his power for once, and he doesn't want to keep doing this. It's too much for his mental health. So when he got to the highest spot he did, he basically said, fuck it. I'm at peace. I'm gonna live on a snowy log cabin. I'm gonna live on a log cabin in snowy mountains and call it a day. Of course, Patriot has a giant bunker under his log cabin, like inside of the mountain, like huge bunker. Has like time acceleration around it, so that no one could ever hope to get in, as well as inside it. And he's the only one unaffected, unless you have like a special mask that he like gives out to the people who he lets in, but he takes the mask right back once he's done. Draconis being taken, whenever Draconis takes the soldier, they basically become undead. And because Draconis was basically undead, Coheus put Draconis inside of Phaetron's bunker, making his stupid power go even higher. I mean, oh my god. In fact, it's become a bartering tool with Phaetron, where basically anytime Coheus is unhappy with Phaetron or just like wants to punish Phaetron, Draconis! And Draconis kind of hates Phaetron. Now, Coheus is actually the only person who is completely human, save for Dewey. I mean, Remriel. Yeah. Other than Remriel, Coheus is the only full human in the group. Yabi, he was born out of the primordial chaos. He looks human, but he's not really human. Phaetrian, his genealogy is that he has elf, he has like elf, he has dragon, he has wolf, he has human, he has a lot of things. At this point, at this point, he probably also like put god blood in there somewhere. Maybe like the blood of Oda Nobunaga himself. No, not really. But and Phaetron, his whole expertise is he is the Forge Master. He makes the best shit, no matter what it is, he can make it. And he makes the best shit in all the Omniverse. No one can come close to how the shit he makes. And also, he's kind of a jack of all trades on the side. Like he's like the second best swordsman and second best magic caster. And the only reason he's above both Kois and Yami is because on top of being second in both, he also has his personal hobby being a forge master. So yeah. And yeah, Patriot is just Patriot, like after he got past his depression and like megalomaniacy, he mellowed out and just be like, I'm at peace. But he still drank because, I mean, PTSD is PTSD. You can't just get rid of that shit that easily, man. He never was able to cope with it, so he just kept drinking. And he even made his own brand of tea to calm himself down. And he has the best wine cellar you could ever imagine right below his closet. Yeah. Specifically his kitchen closet. Like he types in a code and it opens up into a spiral staircase. And yeah. Good shit. So yeah. And Patriot, he eventually got when Yami proposed the reset of the Omniverse. Patriot was like, Patriot didn't really want to do it, but he realized that everything has gotten a little too slow, even for him, and it was time for a reset. So Patreon reset, it helped Yami reset the Omniverse, and yeah. Oh yeah, and the reason Yami's a ghost is because Shrek like punched right through him. Yami is a ghost because Shrek punched right through his chest. And Time Goddess, with like this being Yami's second reset, Time Goddess decided, hey, screw you, you're stuck in your own head now. Have fun. Yeah. So right now, Patriot is
dinner 10 minutes.
Okay. Right now, Patriot is he's starting to figure out the roots of his PTSD, and he's got like more methodical and less and he actually thinks things through now. And he thinks that if I'm doing the best at what I can do, I'm solid. So he stays up late every night studying. He drinks a shit ton of coffee. I mean, oh my god. And yeah, Patron is he's getting closer and closer to getting that PTSD cured, but very, very slowly. Now, that's pretty much it for Patreon. The next character I'm going to discuss is Yu. YU. Her name is YU. Her real name is Zarya, but she goes by YU. So Yu, they're actually gender neutral. Yu is a kitsune. So naturally, kitsune are feminine in form. So yeah, there's a bit of confusion there. So yeah, Yu was was a victim of the battle after the battle that where Phaetron promised Coeus a proper marriage. Yeah, that was after battle, and Yu was caught in the crossfire of that and ran, but it didn't really matter. Coeus and Phaetron at the time, so it was basically taken in by Ava, Coeus's wife, and without Kois's knowledge at all. Like she never told Kois. So you made a blood bond with Ava, making them effectively sisters. So yeah, of course there's a deep connection there now. And when the reset happened, you lost most of their memories and was just thrown into the middle of nowhere inside a forest and just had to survive until they came across the group and became a student at their school because of a treaty with the monster with most of the monsters of the realm that allowed certain monsters to start integrating into the community in that country, which is basically the country they're in right now. Is basically knockoff Magic America in the modern day. Like Magic is used to it for everything. Like their computers powered by Magic, their phones powered by Magic. Everything they have is powered by Magic. Um. So yeah, they're so you joined them in high school, uh, and once they found out you on a camping trip, you went rooting through Fatrid and Kois's stuff, and you read Fatrid's journal of all the things he's ever done and seen, and all of his personal accounts of things. And after that, you looked through Kois's art book of events and things that he holds dear. So yeah, and that caused all of Yu's memories to return, and she became more fond of the group in that way. And her normally nervous and shy nature started to go away around this group around the group because they were used to they've grown to be used to these people and love them as friends and even well, not Patreon, but as family. So you kind of resents Patreon as well because of his general like, I'm tired. Fuck all y'all. I need coffee. Uh so yeah. So and also the fact that you of course talks with Ava and Coius and Ava don't really have the greatest opinions on Patreon. Yeah. So their personality is like shy and not really outgoing since not really never really been a part uh around people ever except with Ava until they came across the group. Uh yeah, and they're kind they're very suspicious of everyone. Like they're very skeptical to say of everyone. And they're not really they're not really they don't trust everyone. They don't trust anyone actually, like fully trust. They will place a good chunk of trust in the characters of the group, but they don't fully trust them at all. So yeah, YU is a full-on kitsune, so not at all human, other than slight appearance. Yeah. Oh yeah, and because of the blood bond, here's the funny thing: the blood bond that you made with Ava, it basically makes them sisters, and because Koius is kind of Ava's wife unofficially, uh, that makes you Koius's sister-in-law, and since Ava is kind of the daughter of Fatrian, and Fatrian has gone out of his way to say, "Yo, Ava's my daughter, man." um, that makes not only you, like the adopted sort of daughter of Fatrian, but also Coeus is technically Fatrian's son-in-law, and that's just hilarious to me. Coeus absolutely hates that. It's hilarious. Ava still has some daddy issues, but Ava is like recently after an incident where Ava was hospitalized. Uh, Ava got like Fatrian had some bonding with her and uh basically talk things out. And Ava's not willing to hug Fatrian, but not fully commit to being his daughter. So yeah. And for the last character, Remriel. Remriel was an ascendant that Fatrian kind of took under his wing for a period of time. Until Fatrian was just not kind of done and he was just content. So yeah, Remriel was an ascendant, and because of Fatrian's power rubbing off on Remriel, he survived the omniversal reset. Uh, but like severely nerfed, and also lost his memories until Fatrian and Coeus brought his memories back. So yeah. And Remriel, he's the healer of the party. He's the cleric because like he worships God, and yeah, he's the cleric. So of course he'd have his reservations on some of the group's actions, especially like Coeus's, since Coeus is literally the Dark Lord and like the one true Dark Lord, and is kind of like the Antichrist somewhat. And he Coeus is like prophesized to go to war with heaven and kill all the gods with an army of demons and the creatures of the night by his side. So that's kind of awkward, but Remriel has made a contract with a demon so he can use fire magic and help and basically demon magic, but also made contracts with a white dragon that he hatched himself, like a baby white dragon, and so then he could use ice magic. But other than that, his main magic is holy and healing magic. That's pretty much it. He doesn't have much of a personality. He's like, all right, man. Okay, we're doing this now. Yeah.
Come on. No, not 1 minute. No, not 1 minute. Now.
I'm doing a live stream.
Sorry.
I can't just send it.
Sorry, good night. I gotta go eat dinner, y'all. Boop.
Okay, well, that's basically all the way is. He's fully human as well. So, yeah. Anyways, you heard my mom. I'm gonna have to end it off here. Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and whatever. If you want to, I don't care. But anyways, arrivederci, and I'll see you next time.